While a Disneyland vacation is always an exciting thing to look forward to, there is a lot to consider in the planning phase that could make the difference between a good trip and a great trip. We visit the parks weekly and have a ton of tips that will be helpful whether you're a first-time visitor or a Disney pro. Today we're going to share 50 of these to help make your Disneyland trip as smooth and fun as possible. We'll break these down in several categories for you, covering tips from preparedness, rides, dining, kids, navigating the park's offerings, and fun. This guide will give you everything you need to enjoy a great Disneyland vacation. I'm Gavin, back with more of the best of Disney. If you're currently planning your trip and deciding when you'd like to visit, make sure to check out our free printable of all the best specific dates to visit Disneyland in 2024. Go to the URL on the screen or scan the QR code now to access this. You always can go to our video description for links to our most helpful resources as well. You'll get access to our other helpful printables and our free newsletter. It will give you the latest information on Disney discounts, news, and more. So without further ado, let's dive into our top 50 Disneyland tips broken down by category. The first category we're going to talk about is preparedness. There's a lot to juggle in the planning phase of your trip before even setting foot in the parks. We'll take you through a few tips that will help you get organized and ready for your trip to Disneyland. Our first tip is to make sure you pack your bag with any essentials that you'll need during your day. While you don't want to fill this bag to the point where it's too heavy to carry, you'll want to pack any items you might need like chapstick, sunscreen, tissues, pain meds, small snacks, and a portable phone battery pack. We recommend a bag that is small enough to easily stow on ride so it's not an inconvenience. You can check out our free Disney Parks packing list printable for a comprehensive list of everything that might come in handy during your day. As you're deciding what to bring to your Disneyland trip, make sure you pack comfortable clothes. You'll want to strike a balance between being comfortable and looking presentable. Choose outfits that will look good in photos, and make sure your clothes won't rub, itch, or cause irritation throughout the day. Most importantly, bring supportive, comfortable walking shoes, as you'll be doing a lot of walking during your time at the parks. I personally recommend bringing 2 pairs so you can alternate. If you see rain on the forecast, or if you're planning to go on water rides like Grizzly River Run or the upcoming Tiana's Bayou Adventure, make sure to bring a poncho. You will get really soaked during these water rides, and it's no fun walking around the park in wet clothes. While wearing a poncho won't completely save you from getting wet, it will help you to stay more comfortable after you get off the ride. If you're still planning on what dates to visit Disneyland, avoid the busiest times of the year to dodge the worst of the crowds. As a general rule, any holidays, 3-day weekends, and periods like spring break and Halloween during October at Disneyland will be most crowded. This doesn't mean that you have to miss out on the seasonal celebrations that happen during the busiest times of the year. There are still ideal times to visit during those periods and strike a balance between seasonal offerings and reasonable crowd levels. For a full breakdown of the best times to visit Disneyland, be sure to check out our video on the subject. This next tip is a super important one. Make sure to bring a portable charger for your phone. Much of the current Disneyland experience revolves around your phone, from making Genie Plus Lightning Lane reservations to using the app to check wait times and place mobile orders. You'll be surprised by how fast your phone battery drains. The last thing you want at Disneyland is a dead phone, so be sure to bring a portable charger that you can carry with you throughout the parks. We recommend the Anker PowerCore 10,000, which holds 3 to 4 phone charges so you can support multiple phones in your group. Check out our link to this charger in the video description below. There are also portable chargers available for purchase at the park called fuel rods, if you forget one. Our next preparedness tip is to make sure you know where to buy the best discount Disneyland tickets. There are worthwhile savings available if you purchase your tickets in advance, rather than buying them directly through Disney. We recommend Getaway Today, where you can find great discount prices on 2 through 5 day, multi-day Disneyland tickets. Getaway Today has worked with Disney for over 30 years and gives us exclusive lower prices that you can access by going to mickeyvisit.com/DL-ticket or scanning a QR code on the screen. By buying through your link, you support our content and get access to the lowest prices on tickets anywhere. That's what I call a win-win. In the planning phase of your trip, you'll also want to be aware of the best airport to fly into near Disneyland if you're flying. There are a few options to consider when flying to Disneyland from out of town. While LAX is a huge airport that offers the most flight options, our top choice is John Wayne Orange County Airport, which is only 14 miles from Disneyland. It's a short and convenient journey to the resort, and the airport size makes it very easy to navigate. From the airport, the easiest way to get to Disneyland is by rideshare. The journey from Los Angeles to Orange County can be unpredictable and plagued by traffic, so John Wayne Orange County Airport proximity to Disneyland makes it a very convenient choice. As your visit dates grow closer, make sure to do some research ahead of time to see the offerings that will be available during your trip. If you're visiting during a seasonal celebration, you can see the foods, special entertainment, merchandise, and decor that will be offered. Be sure to join the Mickey Visit newsletter, linked in the description below, that will keep you updated with all the latest discounts, news, and these seasonal offerings. If your trip is planned during Star Wars Season of the Force, you can look forward to experiencing the Hyperspace Mountain overlay. Or if you're visiting during the Halloween season, you can explore the variety of themed treats and spooky decorations. Doing your research is important to come up with all these lists of priorities and to understand ride closures and refurbishments that may be coming up during your stay. You can see our video of everything coming to Disney parks in 2024 for a full breakdown of everything you can look forward to this year. Before your trip, you'll want to have a plan for transportation to and from Disneyland. If you're staying at one of the nearby Anaheim area hotels, there are a few options for getting to and from the parks. We do not recommend getting a rental car unless you're planning on exploring the area and visiting places beyond Anaheim and Disneyland. Parking costs will quickly add up if you're driving to and from the parks every day. There are several great hotels within walking distance to Disneyland, or you could also take the ART shuttle bus for transportation. Whichever option you choose, you'll want to carve out ample time for transportation so you can get to the parks in time for rope drop. This leads to our next point. Make sure to arrive to the gates at least 30 minutes before park opening. That way you'll be ready for rope drop, which is when you line up at the ropes that block off various lands before park opening. If you're there at rope drop, you can be the first to experience popular attractions with much shorter wait times before long lines form in the afternoons. Be sure to factor in the time to get to the park gate. When we say 30 minutes before, we mean at the gate and through security. Sleeping in and missing out on this precious morning time is one of the biggest rookie mistakes you can make. You can see our full video on the biggest rookie mistakes to avoid at Disneyland here. If you're driving to the parks for the day and will be utilizing the parking structure, make sure to note where you parked your car. When you're excited to start the day at Disneyland, it can be easy to completely forget where you parked when you return to the structure. You can take a picture of where you parked, write it down in your notes app, drop a pin at your car's location, or use the convenient car locator that's featured on the Disneyland app. When you line up at the Disneyland park gates, it can be hard to decide which turnstile to line up at. However, there's one that has a consistently shorter wait time than the others. It's located on the right side of the Disneyland entrance where there are two trees. The line that goes to one of the turnstiles often ends up branching into two, so that line goes twice the speed of others. Our last preparedness tip is to download games ahead of time to keep you entertained while waiting in line. While you'll definitely want to maximize your time with Genie Plus to avoid long waits, sometimes these are unavoidable. We recommend downloading the Play Disney Parks app or another mobile game to stay entertained in line. We love the Heads Up game in particular. You'll want to consider your options ahead of time so you don't need to rush to download any apps while you're in the parks. You can also try your hand at our daily Mickey Visit Wordle-inspired Disney game while waiting in line. Now that we've covered some preparedness tips for the parks, let's talk about some tips to keep in mind while you're enjoying the rides. Our first and most important Disneyland ride tip is to make sure to know how to effectively navigate Genie Plus to make the most of your time at the parks. This service is crucial to get on as many rides as possible during your park day, as Genie Plus lightning lanes allow you to bypass long lines for popular attractions. You can learn everything you need to know about Genie Plus, including pricing and tips, plus some expert level tips for making the most of this service in our video. On a similar note, it's important to know when to buy individual lightning lane entry and when to skip it. Individual lightning lane access is not included with the purchase of Genie Plus, and it is offered for attractions in the highest demand. Lightning lane access will be available to purchase individually for these rides, with pricing varying by date and attraction. For Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland, it's sometimes worth the cost to purchase individual lightning lane entry. If you're enjoying a one-day trip to Disneyland, for instance, it might be a good idea to purchase individual lightning lane to maximize your time. However, wait times are often inflated for this ride. If you get in line at the right time, you might end up waiting an hour or less. For Radiator Springs racers, there's actually a much better way to skip the line that won't require you to purchase individual lightning lane. Utilize single rider whenever you can. Radiator Springs Racers offers this option that allows you to enter a separate line and be split up from the rest of your party to fill ride vehicle seats that aren't occupied by groups in the normal standby and Genie Plus lines. While you will not be able to make a request with this option, it's often much shorter wait than the standby line. Single rider is also offered for several other rides at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. Our next tip is specifically for Monsters Inc. in Disney California Adventure. While this ride offers Genie Plus, some people don't know that the Buddy Pass is offered here. This works similarly to single rider and enables small parties of 1 or 2 people to fill any remaining spots in the ride vehicle and bypass the long standby line. At the entrance of the queue, you can ask for the Buddy Pass, and if they're giving them out, you'll be able to enter through the exit of the attraction to join this line. They're currently also testing a Roo Pass at Winnie the Pooh in Critter Country in Disneyland. This is just a test, but it follows the same structure as the Buddy Pass at Monsters Inc. If you're not taking advantage of Single Rider, know that you can request ride rows for attractions. You may need to wait a bit longer for the row you asked for, and above all, you need to be polite to cast members and understand that if they're not able to accommodate your request, that's okay. I personally am a big fan of being in the front row or the very back row for roller coasters like Space Mountain and the Incredicoaster. And if you wanted a completely unobstructed view of Soarin', you can ask for row 1, Concourse B, which is the center top row. For select rides like the Incredicoaster, Space Mountain, Radiator Springs Racers, and Guardians of the Galaxy Breakout, there will be on-ride photos taken. These are usually near the end of the ride, and they're a great opportunity to have some fun. It pays to be aware of when these are coming and strike a pose. Add the code shown by the photo on the screens by the ride exit to your app to download. As we mentioned at the start of this video, you'll be surprised how fast your phone battery drains during a day at the parks. Be extra cautious of your phone battery on underground rides, as it'll be drained much more quickly while searching for a cellular signal. You can put your phone in airplane mode while waiting in the queue and riding underground rides to help prevent your battery from draining at a faster rate. Another important tip for rides at Disneyland is to plan ahead by asking your party what they're looking forward to and making sure each person gets to experience their top pick. That way everyone will be happy and have something to look forward to during their park day. Lastly, know that attractions don't shut down right when the park closes. When the park closes for the day, additional guests won't be let into line, but you can still join the queue up until that cutoff time. There also won't be much of a Genie Plus line at this hour, so standby lines tend to move much more quickly. We always hustle to get in line for some attraction a couple minutes before official park closing time. Our next category of tips is for navigating Disneyland's many offerings, from parades and shows to hidden gems. We'll discuss some tips on keeping energized during the day, finding quiet spots, and effectively navigating Disneyland's entertainment offerings. Our first tip in this category is to make sure you don't ignore the amazing shows offered at the parks. From the mini shows at Avengers Campus to the interactive Turtle Talk with Crush, there's so many engaging experiences at Disneyland you won't want to miss. It's easy to get caught up in the rides, but make sure to stop and visit the Enchanted Tiki Room, watch the storytelling at the Royal Theater, or see great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Disney magic and fun is truly woven into every detail of these shows, so don't skip them. Our next tip is to know where the parade starts if you're planning on watching it. If you watch the show near the parade starting point, you'll be done watching it before everyone else. The first parade of the day starts by It's a Small World, and the second parade starts in Town Square near the entrance to the park. Keep in mind that if you decide on a spot near the far end of the parade route, it could take up to 20 minutes for the parade to reach you. If you want to enjoy the best viewing, we recommend securing a spot at least 30 minutes before the parade starts. As you're enjoying the offerings throughout the park, it's easy to lose steam towards the middle of the day. While it's tempting to power through, don't neglect a midday break. This is vital to make sure you're well rested for the second part of your day. You can go back to your hotel to take a nap, swim, or watch part of a Disney movie. Or, if you don't want to leave the parks, you can also find a quiet spot to rest and get a break from the crowd so that everyone is energized enough to fully enjoy the nighttime offerings. Let's talk about some of the best quiet spots at Disneyland. One of our favorite spots is the Animation Building at Disney California Adventure. At Animation Academy, you can draw favorite Disney characters with guidance from an animator and keep your art as a souvenir. You can engage in Turtle Talk with Crush, one of our favorite shows where you can chat live with the turtle from Finding Nemo. Or you can explore how animators bring characters to life in Sorcerer's Workshop. The Animation Building is an underrated gem with so many great activities to explore if you want to escape the crowds. Another one of our favorite spots is to take a break in the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa lobby. This area has a great relaxing ambiance with comfortable places to sit and a gorgeous fireplace. You can also check out the Hearthstone Lounge where you can enjoy a drink and a snack. Our last tip for this category is to watch shows later in the day when the park is busier. This will give you a break from long lines and crowds. On a similar note, it's always a good idea to book dining reservations as a way to escape the crowds as well. This leads us into our next category, where we'll talk about tips for dining at Disneyland. Let's discuss some tips that will make your Disneyland dining experience as smooth as possible. Dining is an important part of the Disneyland experience with so many delicious and themed offerings available. We'll share some tips for enjoying a great dining experience at the parks. Our first tip for dining is to eat breakfast outside the parks if you want to make the most of your morning time. Because the mornings offer valuable time to ride popular attractions with shorter waits, we do not recommend sitting down for breakfast during the beginning of the morning. You can get breakfast at your hotel or grab something you can snack on the go. Some are surprised to learn that you can bring your own snacks and food into the parks. This is a good way to save money as you can plan on a bigger meal and snack throughout the day to stay full. You can bring items like sandwiches, granola bars, trail mix, and more to snack on during your day. Water bottles can get quite pricey at the parks. You can save by either bringing your own water bottle that you can refill at stations throughout the park, or by taking advantage of free cups of ice water that you can pick up from counter service restaurants. For larger meals, consider splitting them with another member of your party. If you're a lighter eater, this is a great way to save money at the parks and sample more foods. This is especially useful for festivals like the California Food and Wine Festival in the spring. By sharing, you'll be able to try several of the marketplace items without getting too full. Another hack for a lighter eater is to order kids menu items from quick service restaurants. While these items do have recommended ages, people of any age can still pick these up from counter service restaurants. One of the most important dining tips we have is to make dining reservations in advance for table service restaurants, especially for the most popular dining locations. You do not want to wait to make reservations. These open up 60 days before your trip, so make sure you're ready to grab them. You don't want to find yourself disappointed you're missing out on a dining experience because space isn't available, so be sure to plan ahead. If you don't make dining reservations, you can also try for the walk-up list for restaurants the day of. It can be accessed and joined on the Disneyland app. If you're looking to dine at quick service locations, make sure to utilize mobile ordering. You can use the Disneyland app to select a return window to pick up your food at participating quick service restaurants. This is an effective way to skip long food ordering lines and make the most of your park time. Consider character dining where you can enjoy a fun meal with a favorite Disney character. We love this option because it gives you guaranteed quality time with characters. There are a few options offered at Disneyland, with one at Disneyland Park, one at Disneyland Hotel, and two at the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa. We recommend booking character dining experiences during a late breakfast or lunch period, so you can enjoy in the morning hours at the park and then head to the meal as crowds start to pick up. Our next tip is to consider a dining package for shows. This way you'll get two birds with one stone by enjoying a meal and reserve viewing for entertainment. This is an especially good move if you are already planning on eating at one of the dining locations that offers a dining package. There are several dining packages offered for shows and parades at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, so be sure to explore those options to see if they look appealing. Our last dining tip is don't be afraid to try something new. It's easy to get into the same routine if you find a favorite at Disneyland, so don't ignore the great variety of options at the parks. Try a new snack or branch out and make reservations at a different dining location than usual. You might just find a new favorite. Also, make sure to explore the variety of amazing seasonal foods offered at the parks during festivals, Christmas, Halloween, and more. Moving on from tips for Disneyland diving, let's dive into some tips for navigating Disneyland with kids. We'll cover everything you need to consider so that your family's trip is as happy and safe as possible. Our first tip for families with kids is to try not to promise kids they'll see a specific character. This can be difficult when your child is really looking forward to seeing their favorite character, but they might not be appearing at the park on the date of your visit. It's hard to anticipate who you will or will not see. To avoid disappointment, it's best not to make any specific promises. You can do research ahead of time and check in with City Hall to see what characters are planned to be out and when and where. Another tip is to check height requirements before your trip. You don't want to have to deal with disappointment of your child getting turned away from a ride you promised they could go on. You can see these height requirements ahead of time on mickeyvisit.com. On a similar note, don't try to get around the height requirements. These exist for a reason, to keep everyone safe. If you do have a child who is not tall enough to ride certain attractions, take advantage of Rider Switch. With Rider Switch, a supervising adult can wait with the child who isn't riding, and then they get to experience the ride without needing to wait in line again, switching the role of supervision with the other adult in their party. With Rider Switch, both adults get to experience the ride and keep their child supervised. For safety, make sure to establish an emergency meeting point in case your child gets lost. Make sure this is very specific so they know exactly where to go, and walk them to this point at the start of the day to make sure they remembered it. You can also introduce your kids to a cast member and show them their Disneyland name tags so that they know who to go to for help in case they get lost. In the event that they get separated from you, they'll know to go to a cast member for help and to head to the designated emergency meeting point. Another tip we have for families with kids is to bring your own stroller if you're able. The ones you rent from Disneyland can only be used in the parks, so you can't use them for the walk to the park, from your hotel in the mornings and the evenings. Especially at the end of a long day at the parks, being without a stroller can make for a challenging situation. Make sure to bring your own stroller or rent from a company that can bring one to your hotel rather than renting from Disneyland. Our last tip in this category is for families who are visiting the parks with infants. Make sure you utilize the baby care centers at Disneyland, which are fully stocked with everything you might need, including nursing chairs, diapers, baby food from vending machines, and medicine. For our next category, we'll talk about tips for maximizing fun during your time at Disneyland. These are not things that will make or break your trip, but they can add that extra bit of Disney magic to your day. Ride an outdoor attraction at night for a different experience. Some attractions have beautiful lighting effects at night, like the Matterhorn, Radiator Springs Racers, Storybook Land canal boats, and more. Be sure to ride these attractions at night for a totally different experience than you get during the day. You can also get a unique and memorable view of the fireworks if you time riding Big Thunder Mountain while the show is happening. Our next fun tip that your kids will love is to get pixie dusted. This is when a cast member will use a magic wand to splitter glitter over their head. They will ask you to close your eyes and make a wish, then they'll sprinkle you with pixie dust. This is a really cute free experience that will add an extra dose of magic to your day. You can find it in Fantasyland. Next, make sure to keep an eye out for hidden Mickeys. These are hidden Mickey Mouse heads that Imagineers cleverly incorporate into the rides and architecture across Disneyland. Look out for hidden Mickeys in ride queues, shops, attractions, landscapes, and more. This can be a fun activity as you're enjoying the resort's offerings. Try out pin trading. You can trade Disney pins designed after favorite attractions, characters, movies, and parks, and trade them with cast members or other guests. You can buy a starter kit in the parks or on eBay, a top recommendation. Then look for cast members with a pin trading lanyard or pin board and trade for one you'd like. These pins make for great keepsakes, and the activity is fun for kids and adults alike. Don't let the rain discourage you. While rainy days are not all too common in Southern California, they can make for a great park day experience. Rain will often deter the Southern California locals from visiting, so the parks tend to be much less crowded. Make sure to look at the forecast and dress accordingly with layers and a poncho, and you'll be ready to enjoy an amazing day at the parks. Lastly, make sure to leave room for spontaneity. It's so tempting to plan every second of your trip to make sure you get to experience everything you're excited about, but sometimes the best experiences come out of surprises. Stop to greet the character you weren't expecting to see, get a spontaneous treat, or make a detour to experience your favorite childhood attraction you haven't ridden in a while. Remember, you're at Disneyland to have fun, so make sure your plan doesn't get in the way of that. These Disneyland tips will be helpful for first-time visitors and experienced parkgoers alike, so you can enjoy the best trip possible. While there are lots of tips we've discussed in this video, remember the most important thing above all else is to make sure you're having fun and enjoying your time at the happiest place on earth. Let us know what your best Disneyland tip is in the comments below, and leave us a question for any specifics of these tips above. We hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out our printable planning tools by going to the URL on the screen now or scanning the QR code. You can also always go to the video description for helpful links. Thank you for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to see more of our planning content coming in future videos. This has been Gavin from Mickey Visit. I look forward to seeing you back here and in the parks.